Well, our band is called MUTEMATH. We're based out of New Orleans, Louisiana. My name is Darren King. I'm the drummer in the band and have been since its inception. Paul and I started the band together, initially not even planning on being a band, and certainly not a rock band. I think we thought we were going to be like the Neptunes, a production team or something. We called it Math, and it was much more electronic. We did shows, but they were some hybrid of a DJ set and band performance and percussion fest thing. They were this really strange shows. And then we just became a band. We added members and slowly morphed into a rock band. I think just out of sheer, I don't know, it just seemed to happen that way. It got louder and louder, and we wanted to have that force that a rock band has when they play together. And that's been a wonderful journey, certainly to for the last 8 years tour, open for other bands and do our own headlining tours throughout the States and of course through Canada and other countries. And I love traveling. I was raised in a small town in Missouri and stayed put all through my adolescence, so anytime I get to go somewhere new, I get pretty excited. So I love Toronto. I love all of Canada. We've been all up and down, well, not up, but we've been all across it. I've certainly not been very far north, but I like it. I really do. People are great. Your chocolate's good. That's all I need.
Something you never have tried. It doesn't matter how opposite we are. I'll be the last to break your heart.
Personally, my musical education is a really strange one. I grew up listening initially to Mozart and the Beach Boys, and I know that sounds weird, like I'm trying to show off. But I did, because that was in my dad's tape collection. And then anything that was on the radio, the oldie station especially. But around the time I was, I'd say 13 or 12 or 13, I had this experience at this strange Christian religious convention where I decided that all music was evil unless it was worship music, and I broke all my CDs. I broke my Weezer CD, I broke my Cranberry CD, I even broke some of my Christian CDs that were not Christian enough, and listened to specifically, and I was an intense little kid. I would go for something and I would go way too far for it, and then I would go, and I've kind of been that way my whole life, where if I get into something, I overdo it a little bit, kind of hot or cold in that regard. And that's just me. That's just how I'm wired. So, but then I ended up buying all those CDs back, and then more. By the time I was about to graduate high school, I was 16 or 17. I was in love with the music of Beck, not Weezer. That was more junior high. Beck, Bjork, Beastie Boys, DJ Shadow, and all of that music is what becomes your favorite, I guess, for your entire life in some ways. That those are records that I'll always return to. And then there are records that I love, not because I think they're the greatest records of all time, but because they just resonate with me and who I really feel like I am sometimes. And there are artists like Damien Jurado, I think is how you pronounce it, sorry. And I can't think of any others. He's one in particular that I love. Folk music. I love Nick Drake. I love Iron and Wine. We're playing a festival in Mexico City soon, and I'll get to see Iron and Wine for the first time live, playing the same stage as he is. And I'm so excited for that. Absolutely love Radiohead. I love beautiful classical music. I love anything with the sick drummer. No matter what's going on with the rest of the music, if the drummer's awesome, I'm in. James Brown is the king of kings in music. There's no one better. There's no greater entertainer. He was the best thing that ever happened to music. Stevie Wonder is such a gift. Ray Charles, all the great soul artists. Anything, and I'm a record collector, so I try to listen to as much as possible. But and then the newest band, my newest obsession, Here We Go Magic, is just a great band. They've got a song called How Do I Know, and it's my song of the year on repeat for the rest of the year. That's all I'm gonna be listening to. No, but that's a great track. So DJ Shadow was the one who got me into sampling, got me into record collecting, and I'm forever grateful for that, for his records, Introducing in particular, being my favorite record of his. But I like them all, all up until Private Press is my that's where sadly he went a different direction than I'm crazy about, but I'm still a fan. Like he can do whatever he wants. I'm still gonna be thankful for what he did for me for music too. So that's a small glimpse. Then the other thing is my bandmates. They're all older than me, and I grew up trying to be like them. So they were a big influence on me too, musically. Our third record is called Odd Soul, and we produced it, recorded, wrote it in Paul's house, which was not ideal, but it was still better than working with a producer. Paul's wife was pregnant with their child, and their house was just full of our gear. Every single room except for their bedroom was turned into some room with recording equipment in it. And it was great to be able to work at any hour we chose, fit. I mean, we basically worked all the time except to take a break to go eat or just to clear our heads. And it got lonely. You get lonely and tired, and it gets monotonous, but it's the easiest way. It's the best way for us. I just don't think we work well with others. We work well together. And towards the end of the record, we did get help mixing and doing some arranging and tracking for the last 5% of the record. But for the majority of it, it was just Paul, Roy, and me working there at their house. And we've just bought enough gear and recording equipment over the years. We had everything we needed to be able to do it. And Paul's a great engineer. I love editing. I love chopping stuff up, I love the feeling of going through a 20-minute guitar ramble and chopping it into something that has sections. Sometimes we build songs that way. I'll just give Roy or Paul an instrument that I think sounds cool, and then they'll just go to town. And then I'll take my favorite part, and that's a verse, and my favorite part, and that becomes a chorus. But yeah, I'm thankful. I think that taught us a little bit about how we're supposed to go forward in making records in a way that's a little bit less depressing than we had prior. Odd Soul's different from the first two records. Its idea behind it was that we were going to make a record that best suited our live show, or at least what we thought were the strengths of our live show at the time. That's what we were trying to do, is play up to our strengths of the force of a rock band, an energetic rock band, and that's what we wanted to feel. We wanted to be able to take those songs, to the stage and go nuts. And I feel happy about that. I really enjoy it. I really love the feeling of playing all these songs. And I doubt our next record will sound that way. We did that, and now I want to try something else. I think I have a bit of an idea of what I hope for the next record to be and how I hope it to be different. But in and of itself, it was a great time, and it was a fun. It's really fun to play those songs. And for us, there's a part of that works. That anytime we get stuck working on a track, if I think about what would feel good to do in a live show, and I try to imagine the concert, imagine the crowd, imagine myself, and think about which direction to go from there, it helps. So that I probably is a trick that we learned from making that record that we can apply. But lately I'm just, and I'm not making a problem, I'm just really craving synthesizers and electronics and my sampler and all that stuff more than what I guess people would call raw, organic, or 70s rock instrumentation. But we'll see. Our band has thrived on our live show. Really, I think we've always sold more tickets than we did records. And by that I mean to say we've sold more tickets than we should, considering how few records we've sold in comparison. There are bands that sell a lot more records than us, but play the same venues often. And I guess the live show's been an important thing for our fans, and it's been great for us. For me, it's always the main thing. The live show is the culmination of everything else that we do, including make records and music videos to get to that place. And it's where the songs, I think, really get finished. And so yeah, it just seems right to have a document of that, to record that happened too. So and also we've often toured with the capability to record shows. We have a Pro Tools rig sometimes that we can use to record the show anyway. So if we're already multi-tracking, it's not, we've got it. We've got the shows recorded, and then it's just the process of mixing, which takes a long time. It really is a laborious process to mix a live record just to make it sound live, to make it sound good. I mean, it's not as simple as just tracking everything individually and then it sounds great. You have to make it sound live still on top of that, because sometimes it can sound really dead despite the fact that it was a recording of a live show. So there's a bit of recreating the feeling that was there, to some degree. So it's a process, but it's worth it for us. We started writing songs long distance. When Paul and I, before we were a band, I was just making little tracks out of records and out of samples, and I would send them to him, and he would sing on them, send it back to me. So we had that method of sending stuff via the mail originally, CDs back and forth. But then we, of course, joined forces, but still kept that process of working in separate rooms a lot. There's still a lot of stuff that's built out of jams. One method that's proved to be useful for us is to jam and then listen through it, pick out a thing that we like and jam on that. Sometimes I'll make these little instrumental electronic tracks, and they'll just become a jumping off place. They'll become sort of a place that gives us a style or a vibe, a key and a tempo to play in, and then the real stuff comes out of whatever we jam on. Other times, and this is always my favorite because it's certainly the easiest for me, Paul will sit down at an instrument, get some lyrics, a melody, and some chords, and then we get to decorate it. And that's certainly the easiest way for a song to come together. But oftentimes it seems like we work a little more backwards than that. More often than not, for sure. Civil Twilight are great. They are so chill. They're such a good band, and funny. We have a great rapport. They have a good sense of humor. So we've loved having them with us. They and I had a hunch. You could kind of tell just I looked at their videos, listened to the music. These are going to be great guys. And I had only known one or two South Africans before them, and these South Africans were dear friends, but very hyper, even more hyper than me. And because of that, I had this prejudice. I just assumed that maybe they were going to be pretty, because the only other reference point I had, I guess, were Diantword. So I thought, well, South Africans might be, pretty hyper. But they are the calmest, quietest, but really kind. They're not. I mean, they're guys. They're really chill, and so they're good to have around. They're a delight, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the tour. I am excited for the end of this tour because a week and a half. This is not. I'm trailing off here, and this is my bad habit. But a week and a half after this tour ends, I'm supposed to meet my brand new baby girl. So I'm looking forward to that. Oh, what do I think life is? Well, gosh, the first thing that came to mind was I was hoping for something funny. But what came to mind was a little too deep. Sounded a little too like I'm trying a little too hard. For me, most of the time, life is trying too hard. That's what I'm doing most of the time while I know whatever else is doing. You can edit this. You can edit out all this, but you can leave it in too if you want. All this thinking. Yeah, for me, life is slipping on a banana peel. Often it seems, or it is everything I'd hoped it would be 2 years later than I wanted it to happen. It seems that's a theme in my life. Is a lot of my dreams come true 2 years later than I would like for them to. There's always this 2-year period of failure or waiting or frustration, and then I finally, the first thing, it's dangled in front of me. Life is a carrot hanging right here that I do eventually get, but much later than I'd like to. Well, for one thing, it wouldn't be a carrot. A carrot would not motivate me to do anything. I once had an idea for a gym. It's called Chocolate Jog. And the idea is that you're working out, and the workout machines are designed to slowly dispense very nice chocolate as you are working out. Like a little piece of, it wouldn't be Hershey's because you guys have much better chocolate than that here. But a little O. Henry, or I don't know what you get, like an Arrow or something, would just a little piece of it. You could eat that, and that gives you motivation to keep going. Maybe that's what life is. Life is just that little. It's just enough to keep you going, Or the idea is like some sort of bench press or dumbbell, and it's slowly lowering a cupcake down as you're working. So you've got to. That's how I feel. Life is one delayed gratification after another. Yeah, that's it. Life is an old dog sleeping by the fire. That's what I thought initially. It's an old golden retriever, and he's asleep, and you're not sure if he's asleep or dead. And then he wiggles, and you're like, okay, my dog's still alive. That's the other analogy that I came up with. But that doesn't work. Doesn't apply. So that's, for me, more often than not, life is a little bit embarrassing. That's my story. Is life is a little bit awkward, pretty consistently. Life is just a little square of toilet paper on the heel of your shoe. Yeah. Or life is when you're at a funeral and you are laughing. And why are you you're not laughing for any reason, but you've got to stop laughing. And the fact that you have to stop laughing makes you laugh, and your friend, and you're laughing, and it's at a funeral, and it's horrible. That's my life. Yeah. Okay.